I said, uh-oh, this is about to get ugly for UMass. If we run this first one back,
Yeah.
like this place is just going to lose its mind.
Yep.
Let's talk about the actual game. Wow, Auburn football is back, baby.
Oh, that's for sure.
What stuck out to you? I mean,
Man.
I know that's a big loaded question.
That is a loaded question. There were so many impact players, new impact players we were all hoping to see how they would gel together. I think it'd be hard not to talk about, first and foremost, Robby Ashford having a day. 3 rushing touchdowns. And I think, Kyle and I are one where we typically scream, listen to the press conference pretty often. Coach Hugh Freeze saying Robby Ashford is vital to this program and this team's success was not just jargon to say, well, he's a backup quarterback, please don't transfer.
Please.
He was, and there was a clear plan for him. Kudos to Robby for buying in and for being, willing and malleable to fit into what space he is to help this team win. I loved it. I don't have a problem with that mixing out the quarterback. Now, I think it's going to be difficult more as he gets more on tape and people prepare for him. UMass is coming in blind. But the way it worked against UMass was about as good as you can hope for.
What I liked is not only did you put Robby in to actually, live by what you talked about in the press conferences, but you put him in and did more than just run. He had opportunities to throw. They didn't work out necessarily, whether that was a Robby thing or a miscommunication thing or a penalty. There were a couple times penalties were on his particular throws or on the receiver that took away probably would have been a little bit more momentum for him. I mean, he came in not just because Payton was hurt. He came in because, no, this is your time to lead the drive right now. He needs a break. Let him in. Go lead us down to a touchdown. And he did it with his legs. I think everybody would love to see him throw one too. But Coach Freeze has lived up to his word that Robby's a part of this offense.
Right.
And he will be. The great thing is we now have on tape for everybody to see.
Exactly. He
will throw the ball. We all know he's going to run. And good luck trying to catch him.
Right. And I mean, that's the point of these opening games, right? Is you want to give enough for Cal next week to prepare for, but not show your whole arsenal. And so I thought it was great. Robby, as the game got out of hand, Robby got the chance to lead. I think that's where you can say Payton Thorne probably still is the starter for a reason.
Right.
And he has different intangibles that'll help this team more than Robby. And I think that was on display. But there's things both of them can work at, but they both worked well together. You love to see when they're coming off the field, both of them supporting each other, both of them talking, sharing what each of them sees. That's a quarterback situation I think you have to be happy about if you're an Auburn fan.
I'm real happy with this. And we even got to see Holden.
Like you did?
Holden through some – I've had some debates with people whether this was by intention or it was a misthrow by him or something like that. But I thought they were pretty decent back shoulder throws. I mean, sure, the receiver had to come back. It was Malcolm Johnson who caught both of those. Come back a little bit. But more so than not, he gave his receiver an opportunity to make a play. How many times have we talked about a quarterback zipping it in there and just not even putting it in a window?
Right.
Because the rule is if you're a receiver, you get your hands on the ball, it's your job to make the catch.
Absolutely.
Even if it is a bad throw. So giving players opportunities, that's what the quarterbacks did all day. So I'm really happy with that. No Jarquez.
No Jarquez Hunter. But the run game seemed to be okay.
Right.
Yes, there's always going to be it was UMass. Yes, it was. But to have every running back score a touchdown is pretty good. And all the way down to your walk-ons. Is
it every single one?
I think so.
So Sean, I don't think Justin Jones scored one, did he?
Justin Jones
got in. Did you miss that one?
Did I miss? I thought Justin Jones?
He's still here.
Oh wow.
So he's
okay. I missed that one then.
But I understand you probably missed him because of the short time he was in there.
Sure.
But Sean Jackson,
Jeremiah Cobb, Damari Alston, and Brian Batty scored, right? Am I missing Brian Batty?
Now I'm questioning myself. Either way,
a dominant day on the ground.
Yeah.
That's what you hope for. When I think there's a case to be made, Jarquez is still very valuable to this team.
Yeah.
And will be as we get into the season. But great to get some snaps for these guys, some meaningful snaps, and to see what you have with this, relatively young running back room.
Yeah, I hope people will not become so focused on what's going on with Jarquez. We don't need to know what's going on with Jarquez. All you need to know is he's not playing right now, and then you have a running back room that is very capable even without him. Now, without Jarquez there, was there maybe an edge off of the room just given what he does? Sure. But Jarquez, I think, he's obviously still on the team. He was on the sideline, just not dressed out. In fact, he was like below me the entire game up in the upper deck. So I was just sitting there wondering, like, is he going to ever go like suit back up in halftime or something like that? But they don't come out in pads and stuff. They're not going out there.
Right.
My guess, I have no information. My guess is he's not traveling.
Yeah,
that's my guess.
I'm going to be the same. I think that we'll probably not play him this weekend. Like you said, we know nothing officially or anything like that. So, but I think you can be content after yesterday to see what this room has, and I was pleased with them. What's an area for you maybe that you were a little concerned about going in and still saw those concerns?
The explosive plays that were given up at times, especially in the running game. And everyone wants to place blame on it's because of the defensive lines, because of the linebackers. I don't know that it's necessarily one or the other. I just think it's still cohesion that's trying to be had between the front seven.
Correct.
Because we all know what the defensive back group is. I mean, they're studs all back there. We'll talk about them in a second, but to me, it's the explosive plays.
Yeah, and I think after the first drive, for UMass, when they marched down the field, 90 yards or so and score, we all were worried. It was like, okay, this is what we thought was coming.
We are who we thought we
are who we thought we are.
Dagnabbit.
But, I think it was good to see. We have to remember, too, this is not just Hugh Freeze's game. This is offensive coordinator Phil Montgomery, defensive coordinator Ron Roberts' first game at Auburn as well with the new team. So I think as he saw what was coming or what ended up happening on that first drive, he was able to change what he wanted to do to fit him. And I think, what was it, late in the fourth quarter till UMass scored again after that point?
Yeah.
That you had, a little more blitz packages, a little more pressure off the edge for this defensive line and linebacker group. But you also, and I'm going to keep saying this, nothing against UMass, but they did come to our place on the opening weekend for a reason. You wonder how that'll play with Power 5 teams like Cal, and then as we get into our conference schedule. So that's definitely still a question mark for me as a front seven and the linebacking group.
Right.
So we'll just have to see. But, I think there's optimism to take from yesterday, but there'll definitely be still work to do once you look at the film.
Is it fair to say that the player of the game is Jalen Simpson?
Oh, I don't know how not.
Like,
you get the only 2 turnovers the game.
And you run one back.
Yeah.
You nearly did the other one.
Yeah.
Was it Keontae Scott that jarred the ball loose for him to pick it up?
Donovan Coughlin
came around and
got it.
One of the other studs, defensive back.
But what a day for Keontae Scott in special teams and the defense. I mean, almost house 2 punts.
Yes.
And he's going to get one by the end of the year. I'm confident in that.
When that first kickoff went, and I know there were different people in different points, but like I said, this is about to get ugly for UMass. If we run this first one back, like this place is just going to lose its mind.
Yep.
Especially with the way the weather is starting and everything. The energy is in the room and all that stuff. I mean, look, there's clear things in this first game that have to be cleaned up that are not perfect, but I find it hard to latch on to those things. Does that make sense? Like, there's too much good for me to be upset with the things that may be frustrated.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you have to look at what did Auburn fans want to see more than anything from this weekend. You want to see Auburn handle an opponent. Score. Absolutely. You want to see Auburn handle an opponent that has talent less than them. And you want to see them win in considerable fashion and play well on all 3 facets of the game. And I think you can say that. I think we're all happy to see an offense that looks like it might be a little more competent than years past. I do want to remind everyone, Brian Harson's first 2 games, we scored 60 each. So I'm not being Debbie Downer.
Why you gotta bring that up?
I'm just tempering expectations.
Why you gotta bring that up?
I feel that this looks different, and I think anyone would say that with the way the schemes look, the way the offense ran, and the opportunities different playmakers had.
We also had Bo Nix.
We also had Bo Nix.
Who's, just tearing it up, I'm just going to say. So is TJ Fenwick. But we're not even going to get into that here. All in all, I think if you're someone who's making big definitive statements about this team off of one game, you're in the wrong place right now. You don't need to be making those definitive statements. There are clear things to fix. There are clear things that we did very well. Game 2 will definitely start trending in a direction where we can start making some assumptions about this team, but it's really probably 3 or 4 games in before we make some solid conclusions.